Middle finger to my haters, are you bitch jealous? Why was that bitch? I didn't need a man to tell me the fuck.
Trust me, it's going to be a wild ride. We're talking about Donald Trump's completely fabricated claims of a genocide against white farmers in South Africa, and how it's playing out across the internet and frankly, the world.
Okay, ngifuna ukuyivala nje le fast fast. Indaba kaTrump angeni, angixhumi, angixhasi, angifake ebhande mina la. Abantu mabefuna ukuhamba lungile, hambani. Trump naye efuna futhi mayefuna ukuxhasa akabaxhasi. Bahamba ikinkinga sosala thina sihappy sosala nje impela. That also means ukuthi umhlaba uzovuleka. So ngikhumbule bakithi umhlaba masubuyela kunini ngicela ngikhumbule hawe ma ngicela ngikhumbule ningifakele bakithi ama coins la phinde ngithenga umhlaba nami ngithenge kunina hawe ma ningifakele enivazalwane kodwa wangempela angeni mabefuna ukuhamba bahamba abahambe abantu abafuna ukusala abasali sosala thina sihappy.
Wow, just wow. The sheer confidence in her voice, essentially saying, yeah, if they want to go, bye-bye, and then immediately pivoting to asking for coins so she can buy land. That's not just a dismissal, that's a power move. This woman clearly isn't losing any sleep over Trump's claims. She's ready for the next chapter. All right, now let's get into the actual news reporting around this whole debacle. We're going to watch a segment from DW News which attempts to clarify the situation on the ground in South Africa versus the narrative being pushed by, well, certain politicians. Pay close attention because this is where the facts come out.
We do not have a genocide in South Africa.
This South African farmer wants to set the record straight. He wrote an open letter to US President Donald Trump after Trump offered Afrikaner farmers refugee status.
But it's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about. But it's a terrible thing that's taking place, and farmers are being killed. They happen to be white.
The first group of 59 Afrikaners traveled to the US in early May. It has raised questions about why a group of white South Africans of Dutch and French descent are being granted refugee status when the Trump administration has stopped all other refugee programs.
Did you catch that? A South African farmer himself, Theo de Jager, literally says, we do not have a genocide in South Africa. But then you cut to Trump, who's just rambling on about terrible things and how farmers are being killed, they happen to be white. It's like they're talking about two completely different countries. The audacity to contradict the people living there. Let's continue with more from Theo de Jager and DW News. It's important to hear from the people actually impacted by this, not just some bloviating politician across the ocean.
De Jager represents a large farmer organization which has members across South Africa. He says while it's true that farm murders are a major problem, Trump hasn't got the facts straight.
I wrote the letter to Trump because I feared that he might have a misunderstanding of what is going on here. We thanked him for having sympathy with our cause, but we also said, rather help us to make things better here. Help us to, within our lifetime, fix the problems we have here. And it's not only a race thing. Black farmers have similar problems too, and we need those problems also to be attended to.
Trump's genocide claims are a result of brutal attacks on farmers.
He's literally telling Trump, you don't have the facts straight. And the crucial point here, it's not only a race thing. Black farmers have similar problems. This isn't some targeted racial cleansing, it's a crime problem that affects everyone. But Trump conveniently twists it to fit his xenophobic narrative. What a shocker. More from DW News, highlighting the memorial and the true nature of the issue.
In South Africa, most of the murders happened during armed robberies. There's a large memorial at Nampo, South Africa's largest farming expo, dedicated to farm murders. It contains around 2,800 names, going as far back as the 1970s. One thing that stands out about this event is the diversity. We've seen many Afrikaners, but we've also seen many black people in attendance. This memorial includes the names of black farmers who were victims of farm murders, debunking the idea that it's a crime that only affects white people. And those we spoke to say while they are concerned about farm murders,
debunking the idea that it's a crime that only affects white people, let that sink in. They literally have a memorial with thousands of names, and it includes black farmers too. This isn't some unique white victimhood story that Trump is peddling. It's just crime, which, last I checked, happens everywhere. Let's hear from more South Africans themselves, directly confronting this ridiculous genocide claim. This part is gold.
They don't want to leave South Africa.
If people want to do it, I think it's a good idea. It gives them an option out if they want. But I personally would not do it. This is my country. And that is something that Mandela fought for, is for freedom for all.
I cannot really say there's a genocide in South Africa. The only thing that is happening is it's a crime in general. You know, in every country, in every places, we do have crimes, irrespective of race, you know. So I think the genocide issue, it's exaggeration.
This is my country, and that is something that Mandela fought for, is for freedom for all. Preach. And the genocide issue, it's an exaggeration. Directly from people on the ground, Trump is being fact-checked by the very people he claims to be saving. It's almost too perfect. Now, let's switch gears to a reaction from an American content creator who eloquently breaks down the blatant hypocrisy of Trump's refugee offer. This guy gets it.
So South African farmers are fleeing to America because they allege that they are dealing with violence. And I'm confused because Donald Trump just gave them a fast track to become a U.S. citizen. He called what's happening over there genocide. Genocide? So we gotta be all the way real here. Why them? Why do they get the fast track over here to become citizens? There's people all over the world that's dealing with worse conditions than this. Refugees from wars, famines, real genocide.
Why them? He asked the question everyone with a brain is asking. This isn't about humanitarian aid. It's about a very specific demographic being offered a fast track, while actual refugees from war zones and famines are being blocked. The double standard is just screaming. He continues to hammer this point home. And honestly, it's refreshing to hear someone call out the obvious.
But they're not getting this special treatment like them. No, sir. So what makes this different for Donald Trump? This clearly looked like favoritism. The ultimate protection for the complexion. Trump, the same person that was trying to ban certain people from coming over here from over there. Y'all remember? And all of a sudden, we got this open door. He feels so bad about them. When, like I said, there's a whole lot of people going through it, not just them. Somebody make this make sense. Y'all telling me I'm tripping? Y'all think I'm tripping?
The ultimate protection for the complexion. Bingo. He hit the nail right on the head. This isn't about caring for persecuted people. It's about catering to a specific demographic that aligns with Trump's base, and it's transparently racist. Anyone who says otherwise is delusional. Now, let's get into another perspective that directly challenges Trump's claims. This clip features an interview that really dissects the truth behind the so-called genocide and the broader political context.
Is there a white genocide in South Africa?
No, there's no sign of it, never has been. In fact, whites are economically the strongest group. They benefited from democracy more than anybody else. 64% of all boardrooms in South Africa are still white. The average income of white South Africans are vastly higher than black South Africans. No, they have better schools, they have better education, they have private health care. This is the land of milk and honey if you're white.
Has any land been expropriated in South Africa without compensation since the first all-race election in this country?
I'm not aware of anyone. Not a single farm that I'm aware of was expropriated without compensation since 1994.
Those statistics are damning for the genocide narrative, aren't they? You cannot genocide a people who own 90% of your economy. That's a mic drop moment. And the point about land expropriation, the land reform process, not expropriation, was met with resistance by those who held the land. This dismantles the victimhood claim immediately. This next segment from the same interview goes even deeper, connecting Trump's rhetoric to South Africa's foreign policy and the agenda of certain right-wing groups.
That with his policy on Russia, the ambiguities of those policies and its relationship with the Chinese, it could be. I think that does play a role. But there was something very, very sensitive that was touched upon. And in South Africa, right-wing groups, so-called civil society groups, we know that they have access to the Trump administration because they claim that. And if you listen to what Trump has said, it corresponds exactly with the genocide narrative that they sell and that they market, and that whites are victims of the democratic system and the constitution of South African legislation. So there's an overlay, there's an immediate overlay, it's an unquestionable overlay between what Trump says and these right-wing groups have said. So I'm afraid I have to believe them when they say they have direct access to the Trump administration, and we see it in what Trump has been doing.
Exactly. It's always about the bigger picture. South Africa daring to have an independent foreign policy, especially on issues like Palestine or maintaining relationships with Russia and China, rubs certain American politicians the wrong way. And the connection to right-wing apartheid apologist groups, that's the real tea. They're just pushing their victim narrative, and Trump is their mouthpiece. Okay, this next clip is from a creator reacting to some shocking news related to those very farmers Trump supposedly saved. It's a gut punch, but it really exposes the hollow nature of Trump's gestures.
Holy shit. Okay, so you guys remember how Trump's made up genocide of those Afrikaners in South Africa, all those white people that were plump and delightsome. He put them on a plane and brought them over here and gave them all farms and everything that they could possibly need. Well, guess what happened? One of the husbands has already unalived his wife. Government confirms tragic death of citizen in United States. Our embassy in Washington, D.C. is providing full consular assistance to the family. According to the department, the circumstances surrounding the woman's death remain under active investigation by the relevant United States authorities. I'm sorry.
This is dark. It's absolutely tragic that someone lost their life, and it highlights a grim reality. Simply moving to another country doesn't solve personal issues or guarantee safety. It really puts a stark contrast between Trump's grand performative gestures and the actual complexities of life. She continues, and her point about privilege and the rule of law is absolutely critical.
I thought that anybody who was in this country on any kind of a refugee status would immediately be deported with their entire family if they committed a fucking crime. I know that I'm supposed to fight for those without my privilege, but these guys have my privilege and more, and I'm not fighting for them. I feel terrible that this woman was unalived by her husband in the United States. But that happens every day here. As one of those Republican persons had to say about people dying because we took away aid, she said people die every day. But I want to know, is the entire Afrikaner group going to be deported now? Because I think they should. They're obviously a danger to our society. And this shirt right here, I'll link it right there.
These guys have my privilege and more, and I'm not fighting for them. That's the real talk. This isn't about genuine vulnerability. It's about people already in positions of privilege, seeking even more privilege under a specific political agenda. And the hypocrisy of demanding deportation for others, but not for those who look like them, is truly disgusting. Finally, let's wrap up with another incredibly insightful take on Trump's posturing, especially when you compare how he treats South Africa versus, say, Israel. The implications are, shall we say, less than subtle.
Watch how Donald Trump welcomes the South African president for supposed genocide.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
No, nobody can
and then
take
when
land.
they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No.
Okay, held him to the fire. Not bad, Mr. President. How did he treat Netanyahu, who's also being charged with genocide? Bit of a difference. Do you think there's any correlation that he's charging South Africa for committing genocide when they're the ones who brought the case against Israel for committing genocide in Palestine?
Okay, so Trump grilled the South African president over a supposed genocide, repeating talking points about land and murder. Nothing happens to them, no. But when it's Benjamin Netanyahu, who's facing actual charges of genocide at the International Court of Justice, suddenly it's handshakes and smiles. The hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a knife. It's absolutely disgusting. All right, team, we've just witnessed a masterclass in political manipulation, projection, and outright falsehoods. What Donald Trump has done with this white South African farmer genocide narrative is a textbook example of how he operates. Create a crisis where none exists, appeal to a specific demographic's perceived grievances, and then position himself as their savior. It's a cynical play, and unfortunately, it works on a significant portion of his base. Let's break this down. First, the core claim, a genocide against white farmers in South Africa. As we saw from Theo de Jager, a South African farmer himself, and other South Africans, this claim is unequivocally false. While farm murders are a tragic reality in South Africa, as they are in many countries with high crime rates, they are not a targeted genocide based on race. The memorial in the DW News clip explicitly shows that black farmers are also victims. Mfo Makata called it what it is: exaggeration, general crime, not a racial extermination. The data, as laid out by the unnamed man in the CBS News clip, further dismantles this. White South Africans still hold disproportionate economic power and land ownership. You don't genocide a group that controls the vast majority of your country's wealth. It's a baseless, fear-mongering narrative designed to stir up racial resentment and fear among certain segments of the population. So why would Trump push such a blatant lie? Our clip from CBS News gave us some serious insights. It ties into South Africa's foreign policy, particularly its stance on Palestine, its relationships with Russia and China. This isn't just about farmers. It's about an independent African nation asserting its sovereignty on the global stage, and that clearly doesn't sit well with the US establishment, especially when led by someone like Trump. He's weaponizing human rights claims to punish countries that don't fall in line with his geopolitical agenda. It's a classic imperialist tactic cloaked in faux humanitarianism. When countries like South Africa advocate for global justice, as they did with the International Court of Justice case against Israel, they become targets of narratives like this. Trump's administration and many conservative outlets quickly pivot to discredit South Africa, often by amplifying sensationalized and often false claims that appeal to their base. This is a deliberate strategy to delegitimize any nation that challenges the US or its allies on the world stage. But more profoundly, as was pointed out, this narrative is directly fueled by right-wing groups, often with apartheid apologist leanings, who have direct access to Trump and his administration. They're marketing the idea that white people are victims of South Africa's democratic system and constitutional legislation. This is a common tactic of the far right globally: portray dominant groups as persecuted, deflect from historical injustices, and create a false sense of victimhood to justify discriminatory policies or to rally political support. It's about maintaining racial hierarchies and blaming black self-governance for societal problems, rather than addressing the complex systemic issues that actually. This narrative taps into white grievance politics, which is a cornerstone of Trump's appeal. He loves to tell a story where white people are unfairly targeted, making him the only one strong enough to protect them from imagined threats. It's performative, it's divisive, and it's effective for his base. This tactic is not unique to South Africa. We see it deployed against various minority groups and countries that do not align with right-wing ideologies. The goal is to demonize, dehumanize, and ultimately control. And then, the tragic irony we saw with the news about the white South African citizen who died in the US, supposedly at the hands of her husband. This was incredibly sad, yes, and I feel deeply for the victim and her family. However, it also completely exposed the emptiness of Trump's savior complex. These individuals were granted special refugee status, supposedly fleeing genocide, only for one to meet a tragic end, not because of a genocide in South Africa, but due to domestic violence in the very country that offered sanctuary. It tragically highlights that violence is a global issue, not confined to one race or one nation, and that Trump's performative gestures don't solve real-world problems. The hypocrisy of suggesting deportation for others who commit crimes, but then remaining silent on this instance, speaks volumes about who Trump really cares about. It's not about justice, it's about optics and political utility. It further reinforces the idea that the refugee status was granted not out of genuine humanitarian concern, but as a political stunt to reinforce a false narrative. If the US immigration system were truly fair, there would be a consistent standard for refugee claims, regardless of race or political convenience. But as we saw, it's not. Finally, the comparison to how Trump treats Benjamin Netanyahu, who faces actual genocide charges at the International Court of Justice, versus his aggressive grilling of President Ramaphosa, is the cherry on top of this hypocrisy sundae. South Africa bravely brought a case against Israel for genocide in Palestine, standing up for human rights on a global stage, a move that garnered significant international attention and support from many human rights advocates. And what does Trump do? He attacks South Africa with fabricated claims, repeating talking points about land and murder, while embracing leaders accused of actual atrocities. It's a stark reminder of who Trump prioritizes and whose interests he truly serves. It's not about human rights. It's about power, alliances, and maintaining a narrative that benefits him and his allies. This blatant double standard is not lost on anyone paying attention. It exposes the selective morality often employed by certain political figures, where human rights concerns are conveniently raised or ignored based on geopolitical alignments and domestic political gain. In conclusion, the white South African farmer genocide is a sham. It's a political tool, a dog whistle designed to rally a specific base and punish countries that don't bend to American will. The people on the ground in South Africa, both both black and white, are consistently debunking it. And the blatant hypocrisy in Trump's actions, from his selective refugee offers to his treatment of leaders facing real charges, proves that his concern is entirely manufactured. It's a dangerous game of political theater, and we need to keep calling it out for what it is.
I like it. I like Canada. I need Canada. That's all I need. Just a little bit of Canada to become the 28th state. 51st state, sorry.
Okay, that was hilarious, and even major Trump fans admitted it when the legendary Jamie Foxx said that in an interview. But Caroline Leavitt, one of Trump's loudest defenders, wasn't laughing. She fired back and instantly got humiliated. So what really went down between Jamie Foxx and Trump's rising star, and why is it turning into a full-blown political meltdown? Let's break it down. Jamie Foxx floors Trump. Just a few days ago, Jamie Foxx took to Instagram and publicly poked fun at Donald Trump, specifically targeting a bizarre comment he made about Canada potentially becoming the 51st state of the U.S.
Canada's gonna be with us soon. Canada will be with America very soon. I love Canada dry. I don't like Canada wet. I like Canada dry.
We want Canada to adopt America.
I like Canada.
At least California.
This satirical take came shortly after Caroline Leavitt made headlines by doubling down on Trump's suggestion that Canada could become the 51st state. During a press briefing, when asked about a USA-Canada hockey game, Leavitt stated,
"The president still maintains his position on Canada. The United States has been subsidizing Canada's national defense, and he believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state of the United States of America."
While this exchange doesn't constitute a direct confrontation between Leavitt and Fox, it does highlight how they've separately addressed the same topic from opposing perspectives. Leavitt seemingly affirming Trump's rhetoric, while Fox mocks it. Fox also made headlines with his impression of Donald Trump. During an appearance on the Rap Radar podcast in August 2022, alongside Snoop Dogg, Fox did an impression that mocked Trump's mannerisms and catchphrases like fake news and great people on both sides. The impression referenced Trump's pardon of Michael Harry O'Harris and his COVID-19 response. Though satirical, it indirectly highlighted Fox's willingness to engage with Trump's public persona critically. One claim that requires scrutiny is a YouTube video titled "Jamie Foxx Goes Off on Donald Trump on Live TV," posted on February 24, 2025. Despite the provocative title, our research found no corroboration from reputable outlets suggesting this event actually occurred. The lack of specific quotes or details from major news sources suggests this may be unverified or exaggerated. Caroline Leavitt, at just 27 years old, is currently making history as the youngest White House press secretary ever. Born on August 24, 1997 in Atkinson, New Hampshire, Leavitt comes from a family that owns an ice cream stand and a used truck dealership in her home state. She graduated from St. Anselm College in 2019, where she studied communications and political science, played softball on an athletic scholarship, and even founded the school's broadcasting club. What's particularly interesting about Leavitt is her rapid rise through Republican politics. Her career began with an internship in the White House Office of Presidential Correspondence during Trump's first term, where she later became associate director. She then served as assistant press secretary under Kayleigh McEnany in 2020 before becoming communications director for Representative Elise Stefanik in 2021. Leavitt even ran for Congress herself in 2022, winning the Republican primary for New Hampshire's 1st congressional district, though she ultimately lost the general election. This setback didn't slow her momentum, as she went on to become a spokesperson for Trump's 2024 presidential campaign, and following his victory, was appointed White House press secretary in January 2025. On a personal note, Leavitt is married to Nicholas Riccio and has a son born in July 2024. She's also a devout Catholic and reportedly leads her team in prayer before White House press briefings. This combination of youth, ambition, faith, and unwavering loyalty to Trump has made her a rising star in conservative circles. On the other side, we have Jamie Foxx, whose birth name is Eric Marlon Bishop. Born on December 13, 1967 in Terrell, Texas, Foxx is now 57 years old and has established himself as a true multi-hyphenate talent in Hollywood. Starting his career as a stand-up comedian, he gained wider recognition through the sketch comedy show In Living Color in the early 1990s, before launching his own sitcom, The Jamie Foxx Show, which ran from 1996 to 2001. Foxx's acting career reached new heights when he won the Academy Award for Best Actor for his portrayal of Ray Charles in the 2004 biopic Ray. His filmography includes notable works like Collateral, Django Unchained, and more recently, Spider-Man No Way Home. Beyond acting, Fox has also found success as a musician, releasing 5 studio albums with hits like Blame It and his collaboration with Kanye West on Gold Digger. In recent years, Fox experienced a significant health scare. In 2023, he was hospitalized for what was described as a medical complication, temporarily stepping back from public life. By 2025, he had returned to work, promoting his Netflix film Back in Action with Cameron Diaz and working on a comedy special addressing his health journey. Throughout his career, Fox has been known to speak out on social issues. For instance, he participated in protests following George Floyd's death in 2020, addressing systemic racism and police brutality. While he hasn't always been the most politically outspoken celebrity, he has occasionally voiced criticism of policies and rhetoric he finds problematic. What we do have evidence of, however, are instances where Jamie Foxx has criticized policies associated with Donald Trump's administration. One notable example occurred in March 2025 at the Los Angeles premiere of the Apple TV Plus documentary Number One on the Call Sheet. At this event, Fox addressed the rollback of diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) initiatives under Trump's second administration. Look what's going on out there. They trying to erase everything we do. They talking about the DEI affirmative action. We don't need black history. Why you picking on our history? So we just do more history. The more you erase, the more we replace. So that's all it is. We ain't gonna be shy about it. Leave us alone. Let us enjoy. Let us all be American. This statement came in response to Trump's executive orders ending DEI programs in the federal government and its contracts, which prompted several companies, including Walt Disney Company, to scale back their DEI efforts. Fox's comments emphasized resilience and the importance of continuing to highlight black contributions despite these policy changes. Earlier, during Trump's first administration, Fox had also spoken out about gun violence. In January 2019, at the California Strong Celebrity softball game in Malibu, he called for bipartisan solutions to address gun violence, critiquing the polarized political climate under Trump's presidency. You wish that everyone would have cooler heads and just erase the lines in the sand when it comes to politics. Just really get into a room and try to figure out how can we live in our society, protect our rights and protect ourselves and not be so overly ambitious or overly, it's about our side versus your side. While not directly naming Trump in these remarks, Fox's statement implicitly criticized the administration's handling of gun control debates, which were highly contentious during Trump's first term. Now, let's check out Karoline Leavitt's role as defender of the Trump administration and her specific efforts to counter criticism from celebrities and other opponents. Karoline Leavitt, Trump's defender. Since taking office as White House press secretary in January 2025, Karoline Leavitt has emerged as one of the most visible and vocal defenders of Donald Trump's second administration. Her approach combines traditional press briefings with an innovative focus on pro-Trump influencers, reflecting the administration's complicated relationship with legacy media. Let's examine how Leavitt has positioned herself as Trump's defender across several key policy areas. Immigration policy has been one of the most contentious aspects of Trump's second term, and Leavitt has consistently defended the administration's hardline stance. She has framed these policies as necessary measures to fix what she calls a broken immigration system and protect American safety. During a briefing on April 28, 2025, Leavitt criticized so-called sanctuary cities for obstructing federal immigration laws. She appeared alongside Tom Homan, who's been dubbed the administration's border czar, to support an executive order directing officials to publish a list of jurisdictions that limit cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Leavitt has also addressed specific cases to reinforce the administration's narrative on immigration. In one instance, she emphasized the administration's efforts to block the early release of an undocumented immigrant convicted of killing 2 American teenagers in a 2021 DUI crash. She detailed how the administration was coordinating with ICE and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on the case, warning that if California officials did not cooperate, the administration would escalate its response. Leavitt framed this as an example of Trump's commitment to prioritizing American victims over, in her view, criminal immigrants. Perhaps most controversially, Leavitt has defended the administration's aggressive posture toward judges who oppose its immigration agenda. When asked by Fox News reporter Peter Doocy on April 28, 2025, if the administration would consider arresting federal judges or Supreme Court justices, Leavitt did not rule it out, stating that anyone who is breaking the law or obstructs federal law enforcement officials from doing their jobs is putting themselves at risk of being prosecuted. prosecuted. This statement followed the arrest of a Wisconsin judge accused of aiding a Mexican immigrant's evasion of federal agents. Leavitt also supported Attorney General Pam Bondi's threats to prosecute judges obstructing Trump's policies, reinforcing the administration's narrative of combating what they characterize as activist judges. This stance has drawn significant criticism from legal experts who view it as a dangerous escalation of executive overreach and a threat to judicial independence. Beyond immigration, Leavitt has also been a staunch defender of Trump's economic agenda, particularly his tariff policies. She has consistently countered criticism that these tariffs harm American consumers by framing them as necessary protections for American workers. One notable example of this defense came during what's been dubbed the Amazon feud. On April 29, 2025, Leavitt publicly rebuked Amazon after reports suggested the company might display tariff-related price increases on its platform. She called this a hostile and political act and questioned why Amazon did not highlight price increases during the Biden administration's period of high inflation. This defense aligned with Trump's strategy to frame tariffs as a tool to protect American workers, not burden consumers, and to cast corporations like Amazon as adversaries. Amazon later denied plans to display tariff costs, and Trump reportedly spoke directly with Jeff Bezos, leading to a resolution where Trump called Bezos very nice. During a briefing with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on April 29, 2025, Leavitt claimed Trump had made significant progress in bringing down the terrible Biden inflation. She highlighted Trump's reversal of Biden's energy policies, asserting that restoring American energy dominance through deregulation would lead to savings for families. These claims were part of a broader narrative to credit Trump with economic recovery, despite his approval ratings lagging at 39% in Washington Post ABC News Ipsos polling. One of Leavitt's most innovative approaches as press secretary has been her media strategy, which prioritizes pro-Trump influencers and new media over traditional press. She has defended this as a way to democratize access and bypass what she characterizes as biased legacy media. Starting April 28, 2025, Leavitt held exclusive briefings for MAGA influencers, which she described as fulfilling a promise to speak to all media outlets. These briefings included figures like Erin Wexler, who thanked the administration for its immigration crackdown, and Bo Loudon, who praised Leavitt as a Gen Z inspiration. These influencer briefings have not been without controversy. Hope Waltz, daughter of Governor Tim Waltz, accused Leavitt of normalizing the Trump administration by platforming influencers like running influencer Kate Max, who interviewed Leavitt and toured the White House. This sparked a debate about the role of social media personalities in political communication and whether they provide adequate scrutiny of government actions. Leavitt has also defended changes to the White House briefing room's seating chart, which prioritized non-traditional outlets like Breitbart and Rumble over legacy media. She argued this expanded access, not limited it, citing Trump's willingness to engage with critical reporters like The Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg as evidence of openness. However, her decision to bar Associated Press reporters after they refused to adopt Trump's renaming of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America sparked controversy, with a federal judge ordering the restoration of AP's access on First Amendment grounds. When faced with accusations that these influencer briefings amount to propaganda, Leavitt has dismissed such criticisms, insisting they are about amplifying diverse voices. She has used these platforms to address controversial topics, such as dismissing Trump's talk of a third term in 2028 as trolling during a Trump troll or Trump truth game with influencers, despite Trump's own claims of seriousness. Leavitt has also taken a combative stance against Trump's critics, using her platform to mock or undermine their credibility. For example, on May 1, 2025, Leavitt trolled former Vice President Kamala Harris after Harris criticized Trump's agenda at an Emerge Gala in San Francisco. Leavitt encouraged Harris to continue going out and doing speaking engagements, implying Harris's appearances were politically damaging to Democrats. This was part of a broader strategy to portray Trump's opponents as ineffective or out of touch. Leavitt frequently accuses the press of bias, claiming during an April 29, 2025, briefing that coverage of Trump's first 100 days was unfairly negative. She contrasted this with what she characterized as the administration's achievements, such as immigration enforcement and energy policy reversals, to rally Trump's base. What sets Leavitt apart from previous Trump press secretaries is her deep personal loyalty to the former president, now in his second term. At just 23 years old, she ran what many considered a long-shot congressional campaign in New Hampshire, leveraging her experience as an assistant press secretary in Trump's first administration. Her 2022 meeting with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, where she sought his endorsement, solidified her as a trusted ally. Unlike previous Trump press secretaries, Leavitt's political career has been defined by her unwavering commitment to Trump, which informs her combative and confident defense style. Steve Bannon has predicted she may move to a higher role, such as chief of staff, within a year or two, underscoring her influence within the administration. It's worth noting that some of Leavitt's defenses have drawn significant criticism. Her claim that Trump 2028 inches hats were flying off shelves and her initial dismissal of Trump's third-term talk as trolling sparked concerns about the administration's respect for constitutional limits, especially after she suggested in an influencer briefing that Trump's executive actions should outlast his tenure. As mentioned earlier, her refusal to rule out arresting Supreme Court justices was widely condemned as a dangerous escalation of executive overreach, with critics arguing it showed Trump's hostility toward the judiciary. Additionally, the exclusion of traditional media in favor of MAGA influencers has been criticized as an attempt to control the narrative and avoid accountability. Sentiment on X, formerly Twitter, reflects polarized views of Leavitt's performance. Supporters like Charlie Kirk and users such as @Sarah76 praise her as a forceful advocate for Trump's agenda, citing her defense of figures like Pete Hegseth and her focus on fiscal responsibility alongside Elon Musk. Critics, often from progressive accounts, echo Hope Waltz's sentiments, accusing Leavitt of legitimizing divisive policies through influencer outreach. While Fox is the center of attention in this video, it's important to note that many other celebrities share his sentiment. Celebrity criticism and the bigger picture. Jamie Foxx is just one of many celebrities who have voiced criticism of Donald Trump's administration, both during his first term from 2017 to 2021 and in response to his 2024 campaign and second term. To understand the significance of Foxx's comments, it's helpful to place them within the broader context of celebrity political activism during the Trump era. A wide range of high-profile individuals from various industries have used their platforms to address specific policies, actions, or the general direction of Trump's administration. Let's examine some notable examples, categorized by industry, before returning to our analysis of Fox and Leavitt. In the acting world, Meryl Streep made headlines during her 2017 Golden Globe speech where she criticized Trump for mocking a disabled reporter. She emphasized that such behavior from a powerful figure legitimizes bullying, stating, "When the powerful use their position to bully others, we all lose." Streep had previously spoken for Hillary Clinton at the 2016 Democratic National Convention. George Clooney called Trump a xenophobic fascist in a 2016 Guardian interview, describing him as an opportunist unfit for leadership. Robert De Niro expressed strong opposition, stating in 2016 he'd like to punch Trump. Post-election, he wrote a letter praising Streep's Golden Globe speech, urging others to speak out against what he characterized as Trump's bullying. Jennifer Lawrence said in a 2016 Entertainment Weekly interview that Trump's election would be the end of the world, citing his divisive rhetoric. Kerry Washington supported the anti-Trump group Stop Hate Dump Trump and criticized Trump's fear-mongering in a 2016 Bill Maher interview. More recently, Mark Ruffalo criticized Trump's Project 2025, comparing it to white Christian nationalism and warning of its authoritarian implications. Chris Evans slammed Trump's 2018 Putin summit as a disgrace on Twitter, urging shame on those ignoring Russian election interference. Musicians have also been vocal critics. Lady Gaga protested Trump's 2017 transgender military ban on Twitter, highlighting its mental health impact, and performed at Harris rallies in 2024, singing "God Bless America." Chrissy Teigen tweeted, "LOL, no one likes you" at Trump in 2018, and both she and her husband John Legend criticized Trump's policies, including the Muslim ban. Cher called Trump a consummate liar and sociopathic narcissist in 2016, wishing he'd fall off the face of the earth. Barbra Streisand mocked Trump during a 2016 concert, saying, 99.9% of our genetic makeup is identical, the other 0.1% is Donald Trump. Eminem, in a 2017 BET Hip Hop Awards freestyle, called Trump a kamikaze, risking nuclear holocaust, and a racist 94-year-old grandpa. Madonna, at the 2017 Women's March, said she'd thought about blowing up the White House, later clarified as metaphorical, expressing outrage at Trump's policies. Bruce Springsteen called Trump a moron and con man in 2016, describing his campaign as a tragedy for democracy. Late-night hosts and comedians have been particularly consistent critics. Jimmy Kimmel, in 2017, mocked Trump's healthcare ignorance, saying he'd sign copies of the Quran in Fallujah to repeal Obamacare. Seth Meyers criticized Trump's Charlottesville response in 2017, stating he failed to condemn white supremacy, thus failing as a president. Sarah Silverman dressed as Hitler on Conan in 2016 to mock Trump's rhetoric, saying she agreed with 90% of his views as Hitler. John Oliver on Last Week Tonight in 2016 called Trump America's back mole, comparing him to a dangerous ignored growth. Writers and authors have also spoken out. J. J.K. Rowling said in 2016 that Voldemort was nowhere near as bad as Trump, criticizing his divisiveness. Stephen King signed the Writers on Trump petition and consistently criticized Trump's leadership on social media. Athletes have joined the chorus as well. LeBron James slammed Trump's racial divisiveness, particularly after the 2017 Charlottesville rally, refusing to stay at Trump properties. Stephen Curry, in 2017, rejected a White House visit after Trump rescinded the Warriors' invitation and mocked Trump's asset claim by removing the ET. Looking at this broader landscape of celebrity criticism, several patterns emerge. Celebrity critics of Trump have often focused on specific policy areas: immigration, especially the Muslim ban and border policies; race relations, particularly Trump's response to Charlottesville and Black Lives Matter protests; women's rights, LGBTQ+ issues, such as the transgender military ban; and environmental rollbacks. These public figures have used various platforms to voice their concerns, including award speeches, like Streep's Golden Globes address, social media, Twitter X, Instagram, interviews, essays, and public events like the Women's March. Late-night hosts have had the unique advantage of using their shows for consistent critique. The timing of celebrity criticism has tended to peak during certain periods: the 2016 campaign, immediately post-election, 2016 to 2017, around major controversies like Charlottesville in 2017 and the Muslim ban, and during the 2024 election cycle. Returning to Jamie Foxx specifically, his criticism of the Trump administration appears more measured compared to some of his peers. While figures like De Niro and Madonna made headlines with provocative statements, Fox has generally maintained a more moderate tone, even when expressing disagreement with administration policies. His March 2025 comments about DEI initiatives reflect a direct response to Trump's policy actions, showing a clear opposition to efforts to dismantle diversity programs. His 2019 remarks on gun violence, while less targeted, suggest frustration with the administration's inability to bridge partisan divides on critical issues. His Trump impression, while satirical, used humor to critique without explicit political statements. This approach of blending direct commentary with his platform as an entertainer allows Fox to influence public sentiment while maintaining his artistic identity. It's a strategy that contrasts with both the more provocative approach of some celebrities and the strictly political messaging of figures like Levitt. Now let's consider how Caroline Levitt has responded to celebrity criticism in general. While we haven't found documented direct exchanges between Levitt and Fox specifically, her approach to handling celebrity critics of the administration follows a consistent pattern. Levitt tends to dismiss celebrity criticism as out-of-touch elitism, framing it as disconnected from the concerns of ordinary Americans. This strategy allows her to minimize the impact of celebrity opposition without directly engaging with the substance of their critiques. By portraying celebrity critics as part of a coastal elite bubble, she appeals to Trump's base, which often views Hollywood with skepticism. For example, when asked about critical comments from stars during the 2024 campaign, Levitt frequently pivoted to emphasizing Trump's support among real Americans. This approach reflects a broader strategy of the Trump administration to position itself as representing authentic American values against perceived cultural elites. Levitt's media strategy, focusing on non-traditional outlets and influencers rather than legacy media where celebrity voices often dominate, can also be seen as a way to counter and circumvent celebrity criticism. By creating alternative channels for the administration's messaging, she helps ensure that Hollywood criticism doesn't control the narrative. The dynamic between figures like Levitt and Fox illustrates a broader polarization in American society. On one side, we have celebrities and cultural figures who often use their platforms to advocate for progressive policies and criticize conservative governance. On the other, we have political figures who dismiss such criticism as elitist and out of touch, while cultivating their own media ecosystem. This division isn't new to American politics, but it has intensified in the Trump era. The rise of social media has allowed both sides to speak directly to their supporters without traditional media gatekeepers, leading to more fragmented public discourse. It's worth noting that despite the perception of universal Hollywood opposition to Trump, celebrity political stances are more diverse than often portrayed. While many high-profile figures have criticized Trump, others have remained neutral or even supportive. This nuance often gets lost in the polarized coverage of celebrity political engagement. So what does all this tell us about the current state of American political discourse? The Levitt-Fox dynamic, even without direct confrontation, represents a microcosm of larger divisions. It highlights how political communication increasingly happens in separate spheres, with different audiences receiving different messages through different channels. Levitt's innovative approach to press access Prioritizing influencers over traditional media represents an evolution in how administrations communicate. Meanwhile, celebrities like Fox continue to use their platforms to shape public opinion, particularly on issues of racial justice and inclusion. As we conclude this analysis, it's important to recognize that the relationship between politics and celebrity in America continues to evolve. The boundaries between entertainment and politics have blurred, with figures moving between these worlds with increasing fluidity. Trump himself exemplifies this trend, having transitioned from reality TV star to president. Whether this convergence of politics and entertainment strengthens or weakens democratic discourse remains an open question. What's clear is that figures like Levitt and Fox, operating in their respective spheres but occasionally commenting on the same issues, will continue to shape how Americans understand and engage with politics in the digital age. Thank you. Check out similar stories on the screen.